we highly recommend checking out Mindful Moments.
Absolutely.
It's like a personal pocket philosopher offering bite-sized insights from great thinkers delivered through the magic of AI narration.
It's a great resource.
It's perfect for those moments when you need a little mental nourishment on the go. All right, so, when most people think about the Arctic and the Antarctic, what comes to mind? Vast, frozen, empty spaces,
Yeah.
right? Maybe the word remote pops up or uninhabited.
Mm.
But get ready, because we're about to completely flip that picture on its head today.
That's right. These regions are far from just icy voids. They're actually incredibly dynamic and vital zones. And what's really fascinating is how intricately they're connected to our planet's past. They've got a huge influence on our present and hold so many clues about our future, probably in ways you wouldn't expect.
Yeah. It's so easy to kind of just forget about them, like they're off at the edge of the map.
Exactly, often pushed to the sidelines. But these polar regions are totally woven into the fabric of our global systems, and they hold these incredible records of Earth's history. They're like these really sensitive indicators of how our climate's changing.
And we can't forget about the life, right? I mean, the creatures that live in these crazy environments.
Absolutely. Really unique life forms that provide these amazing insights into evolution. I mean, how life adapts and thrives in such extreme conditions.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. And we're doing it with a little help from Neil Shubin's book. It's called Ends of the Earth, Journeys to the Polar Regions.
Great book.
Now, some of you might already know Shubin from his other work, Your Inner Fish. He's a renowned paleontologist and evolutionary biologist.
And he has a gift for making complex science, really accessible to everyone. He just draws you in.
He really does. And so for this deep dive, we've gone all out, folks. We've got a rhetorical analysis of the book. We've got a nice, clear summary of its key insights, the table of contents to kind of give us that framework. And we even dug up some frequently asked questions about the book, too. So we're really trying to, pack it all in.
We want to make sure you walk away really understanding the importance of these icy realms, their role in this whole climate puzzle. And we want you to really appreciate the evolutionary stories that are hidden within them. And we want to do all this, without getting too bogged down in the technical stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So think of this as your, express lane to understanding why the poles are so important.
Exactly. And we have to talk about Shubin's writing style. I mean, it's a key part of why this book is so good. The rhetorical analysis really highlights how well he uses his own personal stories, his firsthand experiences from these expeditions.
Yeah, he talks about the challenges, just the stark beauty of these polar landscapes.
Exactly. It really connects you to the science, grounds it in this tangible experience.
It does. You really get this sense, this visceral sense of the intensity of polar research, the raw beauty of those environments. And that personal touch, that's that emotional pull, that's the pathos at work, right?
Yeah.
It just draws you in. But it's not just about adventure,
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't just tell stories. He backs everything up with solid scientific evidence. That logos part of it.
Yes. And of course, his reputation as a scientist, his ethos, gives his findings that extra weight, that credibility.
Totally.
Huh.
So he manages to engage a wide audience without sacrificing any of the scientific rigor.
Ah.
It's tough balance, but he does it really well. And that, as the analysis points out, it just makes his arguments all the more powerful, about the importance of these polar regions.
Yeah.
So let's get to the heart of it, right? Why should you, our listener, care about these places that seem so far away?
Well, the summary's first takeaway is pretty clear. Polar regions are not just frozen wastelands. I mean, they are absolutely critical to understanding Earth's past, present, and future. They are like time capsules, right? I mean, you've got those ice cores holding centuries of atmospheric data.
It's true. You can see those fluctuations in past climates that really challenge our current models. It really makes you rethink things.
It does. And that brings us to our second key insight. And this one really underscores the urgency, right? The exigence, the analysis calls it. These zones are like natural laboratories for studying climate change.
Yeah. And its effects. I mean, they're on the front lines.
They are. The analysis actually points out how, when Shubin describes those melting glaciers and ice sheets, it evokes this really strong emotional response because you see the scale and the speed of the changes happening right now.
We're not talking about theoretical stuff anymore.
Yeah.
This is happening right now. It's observable. These are dramatic changes. Yeah. And this data is so valuable, right? I mean, it helps us really refine our understanding of how climate change works and make more accurate predictions about the future.
Absolutely.
And then there's the life, right?
Yeah.
That's our third key takeaway. I mean, think about it, these extreme conditions, yet you've got this unique, thriving biodiversity. Amazing plants and animals with incredible adaptations. FAQ number 5 mentions those anti-freeze proteins in certain fish and insects.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? Biological anti-freeze.
It's remarkable, really highlights the power of evolution. These organisms have developed really specialized mechanisms to survive in those habitats. Studying them, it's not just about understanding the amazing diversity of life, it's about those fundamental principles of adaptation, at a molecular level.
And that's huge.
I mean, if we really understand the structure and function of those antifreeze proteins, it could have implications for things like cryopreservation. Who knows where that could lead?
Absolutely. But back to that melting ice for a second. Our fourth key takeaway gets into the consequences, right? And it's a lot more than just rising sea levels.
Which is a huge concern on its own.
Absolutely. But this melting, it messes with global climate patterns, with ecosystems, with ocean currents, weather systems. I mean, it's all connected.
And that interconnectedness is so important to understand. Changes in those polar regions don't just stay there, they ripple outward, impacting everything: weather patterns, agriculture, even those distant marine ecosystems.
Yeah, it's a big web, really. And now we also got to acknowledge the history, right? That human element. Our fifth key takeaway looks at the long history of exploration in these regions. It's not just a modern science thing. For centuries, people have ventured into these icy landscapes.
The explorers, their observations, their discoveries, it all feeds into our scientific understanding today.
Yeah,
There's a real human narrative interwoven with the science.
there is. And then our sixth takeaway, it highlights just how broad the research is today. I mean, you've got geology, biology, even astronomy. It's all happening in the polar regions. There's a chapter in the table of contents called Out of This World, which is intriguing. And FAQ number 3 mentions the discovery of meteorites in these areas. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, the ice acts as this incredible, pristine collector for these extraterrestrial visitors.
It's fascinating. Now, what I really appreciate about Shubin is how he brings in those personal anecdotes, those experiences from his expeditions.
It's mentioned in FAQ number 4, right? He uses them to illustrate complex scientific concepts, but also to show you the challenges of doing research in those environments.
Yeah, it just makes it all so much more relatable. It humanizes it.
And that's really effective. It makes the science feel more accessible.
It really does. Oh, and speaking of intriguing, did you notice that the very first chapter in the book is called Ice is Hot? I mean, that seems like a total oxymoron.
Right. It's meant to be. It's provocative. It makes you think. He's trying to show you that ice in these regions is not just some static thing. It's dynamic. It's scientifically active.
Yeah, like a hotbed of activity in a way.
Exactly.
And the rhetorical analysis, it points out how Shubin is a master of analogies and metaphors. He uses them to break down those complicated scientific ideas, make them understandable.
Makes those connections, like comparing ice core layers to the rings of a tree, right?
Yeah, to explain how they record climate data.
So smart. He takes these unfamiliar concepts and links them to everyday things, images we can grasp. It makes it less intimidating and a lot more engaging.
Yeah.
And, that's what we're aiming for in this deep dive, too. We want to make sure you walk away with a solid understanding, without overwhelming you.
Right. And speaking of solid understanding, if you enjoy this kind of deep dive into a book, you might want to check out Mindful Moments on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. It's a really interesting channel.
Yeah, it uses AI to analyze audiobooks, picks out those key ideas, kind of summarizes them. It's really cool.
It's a great way to learn efficiently.
It is. So, big picture time, right? If you step back and think about it, understanding these seemingly remote polar environments gives us such important insights into how everything on the planet is connected.
You're not isolated at all. They are absolutely integral to the global systems. Everything is intertwined.
Okay, so let's bring it back to you, the listener. Why should you care about all of this? Well, for starters, the impacts of climate change, which are so evident in these polar regions, they're already hitting home for all of us. Think about those increasingly unpredictable weather patterns. Think about the gradual but steady rise in sea levels. Understanding these areas helps us understand the complex planet we live on and, those big challenges that are ahead of us.
Exactly. And beyond the urgency of climate change, the scientific exploration of these regions is giving us such fundamental knowledge about Earth's history, the evolution of life, even our connection to the cosmos, like with those meteorites. It expands our understanding of the world in such profound ways.
It's humbling, really. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the ends of the Earth, I want to leave you with this thought. These dramatic changes happening in the Arctic and Antarctic right now, they're sending us a pretty clear message. And as inhabitants of this one interconnected planet, do we have a responsibility to pay attention, to understand, and to respond to those messages?
It's a question worth pondering for
Yeah,
sure. The polar regions are speaking. We need to listen.
we do. So if you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that subscribe button. You won't miss out on future explorations into all sorts of fascinating topics. And hey, share this discussion with anyone who you think might find it valuable. Spread the knowledge. And if you're really feeling inspired to dive deeper into this topic, we'll include a link where you can buy Neil Shubin's Ends of the Earth. You won't regret it.
It's a great read. And above all, we really encourage you to keep thinking critically about the information we talked about today and never lose that curiosity, that wonder about the world. It's what fuels all scientific discovery.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until our next exploration, stay curious.